The rootsTrust toolbar has buttons on it for invoking a text editor, a calculator, and a character map. When you click any of those buttons, the appropriate operating system app is called. Also, when you wish to display files that you have linked or attached to your rootsTrust database objects, rootsTrust calls the appropriate operating system app to do the work. We will now install those required Linux apps. I would first like to mention that the apps I'm about to install are not necessarily the same as those listed in the original installation instructions that you might have downloaded from rootstrust.com. The reason for that is that two apps that were available last fall, Nomax and Calculate, spelt with an initial Q, are no longer available today. So we had to come up with alternate apps. So let's begin. First, I'd like to install the three apps that are linked to the toolbar. The text editor will be the first, and that text editor is called gedit. So I'm going to type sudo apt gedit. Forgot to install sudo apt install gedit. Hit Y for yes. This will take a couple of minutes to install. Now it's going fairly rapidly. Okay, next, the calculator. Now that was quick. And the last one is the character map. GU char map. Okay, now I'll do the apps required to display or process files that are or will be linked to your database objects. First, I'll install LibreOffice. This Office suite gets automatically installed with many full-blown Linux distros like Ubuntu and Linux Mint. Plus, it's fully compatible with Microsoft Office. Now, LibreOffice is a very large package. After it is installed, it takes up more than a gigabyte of storage space. So it takes a few minutes to install because there are a lot of components. So we haven't even reached the part where it starts displaying the progress bar. So there's the progress bar. LibreOffice has the functionality comparable to that of Microsoft Office. The main difference is the price. Microsoft Office costs something and LibreOffice does not. Plus, Microsoft Office is not available on Linux unless, of course, you are using the web version. If you think that a full Office suite is overkill, you might consider the AbiWord word processor instead. It handles virtually every possible word processing file format as well as PDF files, and even allows you to edit PDF files. I will install it after LibreOffice is complete. If you don't have spreadsheets or presentation files that you plan to link to your rootsTrust database objects, then you probably don't need a full Office suite. This is something that you need to consider if you have a Chromebook with limited storage space, as I do. So we've reached the halfway point, approximately. We still have a ways to go. We're getting there. Okay, now I'll install AbiWord. AbiWord only takes up about 1/5 of the storage space that LibreOffice takes up. So if you're concerned about storage space, you might consider installing AbiWord instead of LibreOffice. Okay, next we need a program for displaying image files and PDF files, and that would be Ocular, spelled with a K. This is a fairly big package and takes a couple of minutes to install. This is boring watching this installation procedure, but it's good that you watch it so that when you do this yourself, you know what to expect. You know what the process looks like. Ocular will handle most image file formats, including JPEG, TIFF, PNG, and I'm sure a number of others. So it looks like we've reached the halfway point. This is the last of the big ones. After this, we only have 2 more apps to install. Okay, that's done. Now, if you plan to have video files linked to your database objects, you're going to need a multimedia player. And the best one for that on Linux is VLC. So this one installs rather quickly. Okay, there's one more app you might want to install that is not needed by rootsTrust, but that can be very useful. It is the GIMP image editor, or image processor, more correctly stated, the poor man's Photoshop. The fact that this program is called GIMP does not mean that it is lame. It is far from lame. GIMP is an acronym. The G stands for GNOME, G-N-O-M-E, a name that you saw at the beginning of the name of the calculator app that I installed a little while ago. And the IM in GIMP stands for image, and the P stands for processor. Okay, by the way, LibreOffice, AbiWord, VLC, Ocular, and GIMP are all available on Windows, macOS, and Linux. In an earlier version of our installation guide, we recommended installing Console, spelt with a K, a terminal app that runs from the Nemo desktop while Terminal is tied up running Nemo. In the meantime, we discovered that it is possible to load a second instance of Terminal, so installing Console would be a waste of time and space. Okay, now I will start Nemo. And I'll click on Desktop. And there are no icons. Where are the icons for all the apps I just installed? The apps are there, but we do not yet have a user-friendly way of invoking them. That will come later. We could invoke the apps from the command line. And for example, if I click on Terminal, right-click on Terminal, and open a new window, and then type gedit, it loads the text editor. But that's not the way we want to run these apps. Eventually, we will have desktop icons, but not right now. In the next video, I will show you how to set up virtual desktops. Virtual desktops are cool, but not necessary. If you are not interested in them at this time, you might want to move on to the downloading and installing of rootsTrust, the ultimate goal of this entire exercise.